Module 3, Video 1. The Stella housing equipment can be used to test the effect of double glazing. Our houses can have a single glazed window in them, which is very common here in Australia, which means that we'll just have one piece of glass in it. What we're going to do is see what happens if we have two pieces of glass instead of one. This setup at the moment is set up exactly the same as the base house kit that you would have made earlier. If you're not sure how to set the equipment up so that it looks like this, just refer to the previous video so that you can work out how to plug in all of the cables and to ensure that you have a 10 centimetre safety gap between the house and the lamp. When it comes to testing the double glazing, what we need to do is to switch out the plastic panel that's currently in the base house. Take that out, and we're going to insert from the toolbox two pieces of real glass. Now the kit is designed in a way that one is really easy to get in. It is a little bit more difficult to get the second piece in. So I'll show you what I mean. Here I've inserted one piece of actual glass from the toolbox. To get the second piece to stay in place, I can just add a tiny little bit of blue tack so that it will actually stay there. If I just tried to push it in without the blue tack, it's most likely going to drop out and it could break. So adding the tiniest bit of blue tack, I can now press in the second piece of glass. Just like that. Remember, when we're testing the house, we always want the clear section or the window to be facing towards the sun. So we bring it back up to the line, put the roof back on, and we can begin the test. With double glazed windows, in a real window, there would actually be a small air gap between the two pieces of glass. And that air gap is really important in the design, because when heat tries to transfer into the home or out of the home, it has a difficult time getting across that air gap. It's a little bit difficult to recreate that perfect air gap here, but the two pieces of glass will go some way to showing us how a double glazed window would actually work. In Australia, the most common window is a single glazed aluminium framed window. And if you think back to some of the tests you've already done with heat transfer, we would need to question whether an aluminium frame on a window is actually a very good material if we're trying to stop heat transferring through. So just at the moment, we'll look at the glass itself, but if you're designing a house in the future, as well as the glass, you want to also be thinking about the frame that holds that glass in place and what material should we make that out of. So we're going to go ahead now and test to see what effect the double glazing has on the temperature inside the house. So I need my power on, temperature logger on, yes, enter, no, enter, yes. So I need to remember, just like before, to write down the startup temperature straight away when I turn it on. So at the moment I've got 21.9 degrees. I'll continue through watching the timer, and when it gets to the 1 minute mark, I'll write down my temperature, again at 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and so on, all the way through to 5 minutes. At the end of 5 minutes, I can turn off the experiment. And an important step to remember is to work out the temperature change that has occurred inside the house. And to do that, we take the highest temperature minus the lowest temperature to work out the difference. So if the house started off at 21 degrees and it finished at 23.1 degrees, the temperature change is going to be 2.1 degrees. So it'll be interesting to see if your experiment gives a different temperature change inside the house to perhaps the base model that you did back at the start. In Europe, they actually are starting to take out their double glazed windows and replace them with triple glazed windows. And you can imagine that that's, instead of having 2 pieces of glass, that's going to have 3 pieces of glass in it. And with a more extreme climate over there, they can justify the cost to do that in terms of the energy savings and the comfort of their home over time. So have a go at testing double glazed windows in your test house here, remembering that it is real glass, so be careful, try not to drop them, and see what happens. See if you get a smaller change in temperature compared to perhaps your base model. Coming up after this lesson on double glazing, we're going to have a look at passive solar design.